Now, fear is a big part in most of our lives. It was with us on that first day of school.
Troy got pressured for his shoe, what a pussy! Sorry, drivers!
That new school we went to. It's also there when we're wanting to ask out a pretty girl, but we decide not to because we let our thoughts dictate our actions. Or when we're about to receive a test back from our teachers and our hearts just pounding through our chest. Fear was there. Like, I even had fear the first time I posted on Instagram or TikTok. This fear of my friends finding out, of them might saying something. But you know what I realised? Does it even really matter? Sure, they might say something, sure, they might think something, but in the end, I'm gonna do me. I'm not gonna let this fear dictate my actions.
We suffer more in imagination than in reality.
Now, psychologists like to say that phobias are things which are out of proportion to the actual threat at hand, which is basically what Seneca said in his quote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." He was a wise guy, man. And we could just say the same thing about fear. Most of these fears that we have are just out of proportion to the actual threat at hand. And this is what I'm going to teach you in today's video. I'm going to teach you how to conquer your fear. I'm going to give you stories and a perception you might have not heard of or thought of before. And hopefully I'll help you with the fears you probably have right now in your life and help you overcome them. Let me just say this first though. Fear never goes away.
No more hope. No more Batman. I've won. I'm not afraid, Crane. Impossible.
If you think that fear will ever go away, you got that idea completely wrong. I don't want you to be misinformed that watching this video will get rid of your fear completely. You're always gonna have it, but this video will help you channel it, help you use it to use their millions of years of evolution for that energy, focus, what our bodies were designed to be. Now there's another fear, what I was gonna speak about in this video, but it'd be way too long. So I'm gonna make a part 2 about this. So if you like this video, make sure you comment down below if you wanna see a part 2. And it's about underlying fear. This fear of not achieving our goals or getting to the highest success that we have in our mind. Anyway, let's get started on what I'm gonna teach you in this video. Firstly, I want to give you a scenario and a question about a boxer. So let me ask you this. When a boxer goes into a ring, do you believe that he's completely fearless? That he has no fear at all? Now, if you said yes, then you're an idiot. Now I'm joking, but of course he has fear. But do you know what the actual difference is? He has this fear, but he still goes into the ring. They don't wait outside the ring mentally masturbating themselves, telling themselves things to give them motivation, a motivation spike to actually get into a ring, or telling themselves incentives to actually get into the ring. No, they just do it.
Just do it!
Now let me just say this though, obviously after a long period of time they're not always going to experience the same fear they had at the start of their first boxing match, but this fear slowly dissipates because they've done it over and over again in the past. So the brain's like, oh, I've done this before, so I can do it again, so I can do it again, and so I can do it again. That's the difference. They've had the persistency and the courage to keep coming back, and that's how they conquered their fear. And that's why they go into the ring, waving their arms around, appearing all confident and fearless, because they're used to it. But at the start, they probably wasn't like that. And it's because they conditioned their mind. They've got used to it. I've got a second story. And there's no question in this one, so I'm not going to call you an idiot. But it's about a guy who had a fear of asking out women. And here's what he did. So his fear about asking out women was a big fear in his life. It was holding him back. So what he decided to do was conduct an experiment. He would go into a park every day and just ask as many women as he could for their numbers. And none of these women said yes to it, but he didn't care in the end because he conquered his fear. Now he claims to have no fear at all about asking out women. How amazing is that? And wouldn't we all aspire to be like that? Come on now. Now there's a thing I learned in psychology. There's a type of therapy called fear exposure, where basically, if I record this correctly, they get participants to go through these 4 stages to basically abolish their fear, or at least lower the resistance of this fear. An example of this would be their fear was spiders, they had arachnophobia. First stage, they'll tell their participants to imagine the spiders in their head or them getting into a scenario with the spider. So this was like the easy stage. Then they'll move up a little bit, the image of the spider or videos of spiders. This would be like the moderate stage. Then the next stage would be an actual spider in real life, like in a box or something. and they get to like see the spider. That would be like the strong stage, I guess. But this fourth stage, they would expose them to the actual spider. They'd get them to hold the spider. Now, some participants would only be able to do it for like 10 seconds once they got to the stage, but they would obviously monitor and make sure that nothing goes wrong with them. But they'd make them keep doing it and then monitor them. They'll be like, obviously assuring them nothing else will happen, we'll look after you, don't worry. Because they had to do it just in case they had a heart attack or something. Eventually, it did work a lot of the time, to be fair. I can't remember the exact percentage, but it did work for a lot of people. This exposure therapy is exactly what the 100 Women guy did. But he just went straight to stage 4. He didn't think about women in his head. Probably did, I don't know. The reason why I told you about that exposure therapy is because it's an alternative to what the 100 Women guy did, which is just going straight into it with courage and no fear. Well, he obviously had fear, but he gives you a way to build up to it. Because I understand that it's hard to have courage these days. And just like Jordan Peterson said, it's hard to be courageous without a supporting father figure. Wait, I'm not saying you guys don't have... Okay, I've just dug myself a hole. But you get my point. In general, it's just hard to be courageous these days. Yeah, please forget about what I said about Jordan Peterson. And the reason why it's hard to be courageous these days is because we're surrounded by comfort 24/7. And this comfort ultimately leads us to being complacent in the things we do. So we have no like desperate need to be courageous. And when the alternative is way easier, we're obviously going to lean to that direction instead of take the harder route of courage. That's why fear is taking hold of more people every single day. So this is the main message. For any fear that you have, whatever it is, build yourself up to it, step by step, or more importantly, just do it.
Just do it!